where in instances we're looking to be successful, because human beings are habitual creatures. So if you practice a certain habit in anything, it filters itself in everything else. So, like for instance, when the mathematics of food, right? I'm gonna expound on the question. I just like to share as much as information as possible with people about various things, so people could just all be fed. So I'm gonna go a little bit into holistic health and come right back into the financial paradigm, if you will. So, like sometimes I'll see somebody uh, do a post on, let's say, let's get rid of anxiety by using these pills, and then I will go. Sometimes I cringe. I was just having a conversation with a sister the other day, and she was like, yo, why don't you come out with your vitamins and minerals like everybody else do, right? And I say, man, uh, I want to do these things, but I'm so meticulous in my approach that before I could even sell the damn product, I would be so busy teaching all over the place. We'd probably never get a chance to get to the product. We might not ever need the product. That's how I feel, because I wouldn't just tell you to take something that in general is good for anxiety. I would want to know if you're mineral deficient or you have an excess amount of a certain metal in your body, because these things correspond with the symptoms that lead to anxiety, depression, uh, extreme depression, suicide, what they call ADHD, attention deficit disorder, and bipolarism. There's so many different layers to this thing we call stress, anxiety, or psychological disorders or psychotic disorders. And a lot of them are birthed by way of having a deficiency in either D3 or a deficiency in B12, or someone may think they have anemia, right? Because their body's not utilizing iron the way it's supposed to. So therefore, the belief is they're lacking in iron because the body's not using it. So therefore, it must be missing. But that's a false claim. And most times somebody appears to be anemic, they're actually lacking B12. And B12 is what is necessary for you to assimilate iron. So if you can't process iron in your body because you're lacking in B12, it can give the impression that you're anemic. And in turn, you'll wind up taking an excess amount of iron, whilst at the same time not fulfilling the quest to get enough B12. And then you have to know B12 is an organism or a bacteria, and you don't know it's a bacteria. Most times you won't, because it's an alphanumeric there. So you have B, the letter, and 12, the number. That means what to who. B12 being an actual organism, then you'll say, oh, it's a bacteria. I probably won't find the bacteria in powder, probably, right? And then now where would I go to get this bacteria? And then now what happens is, and this is all going to lead into me going into finance, right? I just want to be as meticulous in my approach towards achieving success as possible. So the point that I will be making is taking the prerequisite steps towards success. Many of us would rather get the storefront first before taking the prerequisite steps to build up the momentum that we can leverage into a first day success business. So I'm gonna go back to the health thing. I'm gonna digress real quick. People walk with me. You can always rewind it and everything. They said I had ADHD, so forgive me when I'm all over the place. But there'd be many things to learn. There's a hotel in LA called the Mondrian, and they just incorporated a restaurant called I think it's Casa Madres or something like that. Casa something. It's in the Mondrian, Sunset Boulevard, and they are booked already 2-3 months out. They only been open about 3 weeks now. And I said, that's incredible to be able to have a business that's overbooked for reservations 3 months out as you're nearing your 3-week mark of being opening, of your opening. That means something took place.
Right.
And I always want to know what the hell took place. That's how my mind always goes. To see a business successful from day one, I need to know what took place prior. Because traditionally, we get the business and then we start on our path and figuring it out as we go. It's just like credit. We traditionally mess up the credit, and then we go on our path and start learning the nuances. Oh, that's what I should have did. I shouldn't have did this. I should have been did that. We typically have to go through the wrong phase to get to the right phase, because unfortunately, we want generational wealth, but we don't want generational knowledge, right? We want the information, we want the money to be passed on from one generation to the next, but we really should want the information passed on from one generation to the next, because then the money by default would be inevitable, right?
Right.
So I always want to know the prerequisite steps. So we're going to go back to the health, and then I'm going to leverage that meaning into the financial paradigm. Get back to what we got to do with how to have a successful business, or really catapult it, or what would be the catalyst to take the business to the next level. So I then learned with the health, we need to understand what the cofactor is. Cofactors is very important. That means there's no element that can meet its potential without being accompanied by another element. It's just like when they say milk is good for the bones, which it really isn't, particularly cow's milk. But the idea is to get the calcium that's in the milk. But if you only get calcium-rich foods, calcium goes through a process of leaching off of the bones.